this video, I want to talk about speed and velocity. Speed and velocity are two different concepts similar to what we saw with distance and displacement. So here we have a table with the differences. First, the definition. Speed refers to how fast an object is moving. However, velocity goes more into rates, so it's defined as the rate at which an object changes position. So it's basically looking at that position difference opposite to speed, which is looking at how fast it is going. This means that speed is a scalar and velocity is a vector. Or in other words, speed does not have a direction and velocity does. Speed is just going to be a magnitude. Now, each is going to have a different formula, of course, because one takes direction into consideration and one doesn't. So the average speed is going to be equal to the distance traveled, wrote as s, over the time of that travel. That can be just t. For the case of velocity, the average velocity is going to be the change in position, which is equal to the displacement, and that is going to be delta x over the time, so t. In other words, speed uses distance, velocity uses displacement. And what happens with velocity, like what happened with displacement, is that even though there can be movement, it could be equal to zero. So let's picture that. There's a road. This is our x1, this is our x2. If you go from x1 to x2, and from x2 back to x1, the object moved, of course, but that displacement is still going to be zero. And if the displacement is equal to zero, 0 over the time that took that, let's say 10 seconds, is still going to be 0, which means that the average velocity is none, so it's equal to 0. On the other hand, let's try and get our speed, so the average speed. I will say that x1 is 0 and x2 is 10 meters. And let's also say that from x1 to x2 it took 5 seconds, and from x2 to x1 again it took 5 seconds. So this is our time 1 or time 2, and we want the average speed, which is going to use, in this case, the total distance. Average speed is the total distance s over the total time it took to get that distance, and the total distance is 10 meters plus 10 meters because it goes forward and then backwards. It considers everything, direction doesn't matter, so it will be 20 meters over the total time that took. So that will be 5 seconds plus 5 seconds, 10 seconds. So then the average speed is 2 meters per second with no direction. And now let's consider one more example. Let's say that this never happened. So it just goes from x1 to x2. x2 to x1 never happens. In this case, the average velocity is going to be equal to the average speed for that distance, because the displacement is going to be equal to the distance. The distance is going to be 10 meters. The displacement is going to be 10 meters minus 0, which is 10 meters. So the average speed, the average velocity, is going to be equal to the displacement, 10 meters, over the 5 seconds, So the velocity is 2 meters per second. Now this is what differs it from the speed to the right. So I'm just going to write to the right. So remember, velocity includes direction. Speed is only a magnitude, like we see in here. Velocity we have to write to the right, or to the direction it's going to. And well, those are the difference between speed and velocity. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it and found it useful. And if you did, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one.